Hello, my name is Cynthia Johnston, and I'm convening the Medieval Manuscripts module this autumn 2020. The module introduces students to the province of medieval manuscripts, providing a foundation of the knowledge necessary to deal with manuscripts in a rare book environment. So if the focus of your study might be rare book librarianship, it could be digital approaches to the study of rare books. It could be the management of collections that have big or small rare book holdings, or it could be the dissemination of knowledge about the history of the book in general. This course will provide an in-depth introduction to manuscript studies to augment your knowledge, whatever your goals may be. So I'm going to share my screen here just to give you an idea of the sort of things that we'll be looking at. So our focus is going to be the medieval book as an object. So we'll be asking questions like, how was it created and stored in its medieval setting? And you can see here a 15th century illustration from a manuscript, which depicts some people in basically a bookshop in the process of making medieval books. You can see they're dealing with parchment there in various ways. They've got various tools on their table, and up the top here, these are wings, probably from geese, and they were used to make the quills, which were the medium for writing in medieval books. We'll also be asking questions like, what was the intended purpose of these books that these people made, and who were the audience for these books? And here we've got an example actually of someone selling a monk, and monks made many manuscripts before there was a shift to commercial production in the 13th century. You can see somebody selling their wares here. And we'll also be asking who were the implied readers and who were the listeners to these books? And how did these manuscripts come into the hands of early modern and modern collectors? And how are the books used today and regarded in the present by scholars and by the public at large? I'll just come back here to a moment, just to me. So the core of the course is a survey of the scripts used in Western Europe from antiquity to the Renaissance. Students will be introduced to key landmarks along the way, to the varieties of names and terms that paleographers use when discussing handwriting. And by paleographers, I simply mean those who study medieval manuscripts, manuscripts of any sort, and scholars who work on medieval or ancient handwriting. So time will be given each week to the script history of the particular script that we're looking at that week, and also to the practice of reading medieval handwriting. And I'll be introducing some of the most common ways in which the medievals abbreviated the words, which they did a lot because parchment was super expensive. So let me go back to my screen share briefly. Sorry. Okay. So we'll be making our way from ancient Mesopotamia. And this is a slide here of cuneiform handwriting. This is the first type of writing that we have a record of. And this is a clay cuneiform tablet, which has to do with allocations of beer. You can see that is sort of in the center there, the cuneiform symbol representing beer. We move along, we move west into Western Europe. We'll be looking at the insular world. This is a slide of the most well-known of all the insular manuscripts. This is the Book of Kells, of course, which is at Trinity College in Dublin. We'll then move off into Western Europe, and we'll look at the development of the Gothic. We'll be looking at the High Gothic world, and we'll end up actually in the Renaissance, in humanist Italy and in Western Europe in general. Sorry, come back here to me now. So in addition, we'll also explore aspects of the medieval book itself, working outwards from its physical construction and binding to its place in the medieval and then the early modern library. And finally, we'll look at modern cataloging practices. We'll examine the dissemination of the book in the medieval world, as well as medieval literacy, illumination, rubrication in the context of the history of communication. And we'll think also about ideas surrounding the concept of visual literacy. So the texts for this course are all in Latin, but prior knowledge of Latin is not required and it is not expected of you in any way. Competency in Latin is not something that it's not a takeaway from this course at all. The course is actually designed to be accessible to especially those who don't have any Latin at all. So don't let that put you off. The course will be assessed by a single essay, which is going to be due in January, and we'll meet each other each week, both asynchronously and synchronously, to build our community of study around the medieval book. So I've got a couple suggestions if you're keen on checking this out, if you're thinking about taking the module, books that you could look at that are pretty widely available. So this is an introduction to manuscript studies by Clemens and Graham. It was published by Cornell University Press in 2007. It's a really great introduction to almost all of the topics that we'll be covering. It's kind of almost a textbook for the course, but not quite. And also, this is really, really a good read. This is Meetings with Remarkable Manuscripts by one of the most famous manuscript scholars, probably the most famous living manuscript scholar, Christopher de Hamel, who worked for Sotheby's for 25 years. And he was the librarian of Corpus Christi College until very recently. And he really does almost celebrity interviews with the most famous manuscripts in the world. He gets to go and see them. He's one of the very few people who's got to actually handle the Book of Kells, and he describes all those encounters in a really charming way in this book. So anyway, I hope that gives you an idea of what this module is about. If you've got any questions, please email me. I'd be happy to correspond with you or to have a Zoom or something if you're trying to decide to take the module. So anyway, thanks. Bye.